Heather.
Hi. So I'm Heather Knoll.
And I'm Michelle Knapp.
All right. So do you want to lead?
Sure. One of the things that we decided for our miss is physical traits. I got some very good examples of that through yourdictionary.com. Some of the physical traits is, excuse me, is going to be your build. It can be your build characteristics. It can be um, your height characteristics, or even your hair characteristics. So, for example, for the build characteristics, that will be like plump, stocky, overweight, fat, slim, trim, skinny, buff, and well built. Another trait is your height characteristics, which is dark, light, fair, olive, pale, tan, pimply, freckles, and pimples as another trait characteristic. And the third one is your hair characteristics, which is the color of your hair, which can be blonde, red, brown, black, gray, white, long, short, frizzy, straight, bald, or even receding. I got all of this type of information from, again, yourdictionary.com to support my theory of traits. There's also other traits such as positive traits. There are negative traits, and there are also other determining personality traits. So that's everything I found through yourdictionary.com.
Yeah, I found it very interesting. I thought there was a lot of information on the pbs.org site. What is race, or race as a, I believe, um, race, the power of illusion. And I was just really kind of set back to see how race really started, and how it really was built up more in American history, and really the reasons that it came about. It wasn't for anything, positive. It was for a benefit, to benefit, the wealthy. And it really singled out, the African American race. And it's really sad, actually. It was kind of really discouraging to read through and see how, I always just thought race existed, and to know that it was something that was created was a little upsetting. Created by humans. This project in general was really, it made me think a lot about myself and how I view people. And I'm not gonna lie, I've seen people and just assumed, oh well, they're Chinese, or they're African American, or they're European or whatnot. And really, I have no idea, because as we found reading all of this material, race really, there is no such thing as race, but
Agreed.
it's something that's been created by people. And really, it can't be defined so much, because I think for me, looking through all the material, one of the biggest myths to me is that, people so often say, and you even see it on all of these ancestry sites, is that, you know, determine what your race is. And, they've changed the language a little bit, but you cannot determine race by DNA. And there's been some articles that I've read, and even on this race website, you know skin color is only skin deep. So like it says here, most traits are inherited independently of one another. So the genes for skin color have nothing to do with the genes for hair, texture, eye shape, blood type, musical talent, or athletic ability. And you can have so many different factors to make up one person.
Right.
Um, and there was a HuffingtonPost.com article that I had read by Jacqueline Howard, and it was written in February 9th, 2016, what scientists mean when they say race is not genetic. And one paragraph that really kind of stood out to me, they talked about the Human Genome Project, the U.S. Human Genome Project. And basically, in short, scientists have been arguing whether race is a useful classificatory tool in the biological sciences. And it's basically, the answer was no. And it said in 2004, for example, Francis Collins, then head of the National Human Genome Research Institute and now director of the National Institutes of Health, called a race flawed and weak concept and argued that science needed to be moved beyond race. Yet, as our paper highlights, the use of race persists in genetics, despite voices like Collins, Craig Ventner, leaders in the field of genomics, who have called on the field to move beyond it. And really, the article talks about it's just they need to just stop now, and race cannot be identified by your genes. It's just you can't do it. There are too many different variables and factors.
Exactly. There's way too many. Yeah. And for me personally, I believe that there's only one race, which is the human race. There is not one specific race. It's just the human race in general.
I agree. And as you pointed out too, you know, not just speaking of genetics, but skin, just looking at the surface, you know, you kind of put it good on your poster where you don't judge a book by its cover. And I know so many people do that. I've done it, and not on purpose. I don't walk around thinking, you know, I say all the time, I try not to judge others, or I try not to assume. And honestly, like, I do it more than I really realize, and it's automatic. It's really become kind of built in. And now I'm just really forcing myself to, you know, if the thought comes into my head, I really just look at it for what it is, and it's not real, it's not true. Like, these are things that I've just learned over the years. There was another article, there was another thing in the Power of an Illusion, the pbs.org website, that website was just so in depth, and there were so many different links, but it talked about there's just being so many variables. And Alan Goodman was one of the experts, and he basically said that one can divide almost any sample into subsamples. An example of this is that with a few skull measurements, one can do a good job of separating skulls of 18th century white Americans versus 19th century. So you can't do it with a single variable, but with a combination of them, then more and more variables, you'll do better and better into dividing individuals into the groups. And it just makes it really difficult to be able to determine any person's race, and really impossible to determine a race by DNA.
Yeah, that'd be the same thing with the physical traits as well. I mean, physical traits can be coming from either side of the gene, whether it be from the father or the mother. They're predetermined, but that's not something that you can say, okay, just because somebody has blue eyes, necessarily they're going to be white or anything like that. They can be Hispanic, they can be African American, they can be Hispanic. It doesn't matter. Just because you have blue eyes doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be white or Caucasian.
So, yeah, and I think that the topic you picked, the physical, is the biggest myth, because I think so many people jump to the conclusion of, oh, you have black hair and dark skin, you know, you must be Indian, or you must be, you know, mulatto, or whatever. And it's just not true. You showed a perfect example of on our poster where it was basically the same person that looked like a whole bunch of different races, and they all had similar characteristics, the same hair color, same eye color. And so all it takes is just a little bit of change in the skin or whatnot. But there's so many there's so many different mixes. You know, at one point we just kind of evolved from something lesser, and we've grown and multiplied and, you know, kind of like mixed and blended that it's almost you know, we kind of are really all one big race.
Yeah, one big melting
know,
pot.
I think that if we were all kind of dug our ancestry back, you know, as far as it could go, we would have all started in almost the same place.
Exactly.
It was a really great project. I learned a lot. I really enjoyed, my favorite part was the history, and just seeing how it all unfolded. It really sad and
Yeah, it was very,
disturbing to me.
it was very disturbing to read a lot of the historical points on how people were to be classified or not classified as being white or non-white. You know, it was very, very sad to see how people were determined whether they were going to be white or non-white. But that was pretty much one of the things that, you know, bothered me the most was reading that portion of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And talking about kind of like the additional rights that white people have just by being born white. And, you know, it's true, you don't think about it. And it's easy to take for granted the life that we have now. When you think about other parts of the world and people that don't even have food at all and haven't eaten in 3 days. And here we are throwing our leftover McDonald's in the trash, or, you know, things
Right.
like that. It's just, it's something that we were born into. And even for us white folks who live in poverty, or, you know, don't live in the best or the most desired circumstances, is still completely different compared to a lot of populations in the world. But yeah, this I thought this was an awesome project, and I definitely learned a lot. So
Yeah, it's
I'd have to
definitely
say
very
that
educational.
my thoughts on the two biggest myths are that, you know, it's not physical and it's not determined by DNA. Would you agree?
I would definitely agree. Most certainly. It's not going to be, there's really nothing to support that DNA will prove what you are. Same thing with your physical traits. It's not really going to prove what you are.
Yeah. It's good for showing ancestry and what
Mhm.
line you came from, but in
Yeah,
order to
like finding
determine,
your roots. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Um, but some of them out there are still trying to say, you know, that it can determine race, and that's just, it's not true. So, well, I had a good time doing this project, so thank you very much.
Of
Um,
course.
do you have any other questions or any comments?
No, I think we pretty much covered everything that we needed to cover with this one.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'll talk to you later. Have a good day.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.